Landlord was an asshole every time an issue occurred in my apartment, so I bend the rules a bit. This happened about a year ago, and I no longer live in this apartment. Back in California, my wife and I rented a nice apartment. It had some new features, and the monthly rent was a bit expensive, but we felt that it was the better option we had at the time, and California is just generally expensive. My landlord was a retired old man who makes his income through this apartment complex. He was nice when we first met and when we signed papers. On the first day, he told us that if we had any issues, we needed to call him first and he would handle it because he'd rather have himself or his workers do it. In the first few weeks, we noticed the blinds were missing and we asked for the missing pieces. He happily obliged and gave it to us. Then a few days after, we noticed the blinds were falling off, so we asked for more pieces. Then he started getting rude and said that he'll charge us if we ask again, so we let that go. Next, we noticed one of the electrical outlets wasn't working. We informed him about this. He got grumpy and didn't believe us. We insisted and he sent his worker, but his worker also said the outlet worked. However, when I plugged in a lamp, it still didn't work. They never tested the outlet by plugging anything into it, but I let that go because he just rudely kept telling us it did, so I don't use that outlet. The last straw was our upstairs neighbor. She complained about our noise level, but it was over the most ridiculous things like hearing the door opening or hearing the cabinets and closets open. We don't slam anything or run/walk heavily. Our landlord took her side. In the end, the neighbor tried to make our living miserable by blasting music the whole day and leaving her dog alone to bark non-stop. Our landlord still took her side and basically ignored us. We were ready to leave once our lease was up, but I wanted to do something to get back at him before we left. Cue the laundry room. There's a laundry room in the apartment complex. Washer and dryer were $3.50 and $3 per load. In the first few months, I was playing around with the washer and dryer because I was figuring out how to use it. The settings changed to Spanish, and somehow I was able to bypass the payment method. So basically, I could get laundry done for free. I didn't do it because I didn't want to do that to our landlord. But after 6 months in, where we experienced our landlord's true attitude and treatment, there were many others that I haven't mentioned. I bypassed the laundry payment for the rest of the 7 months we lived there before leaving. On average, I did 3 loads of clothing per week. That doesn't include our bed sheets, washable shoes, plushies. I have a room worth of those. This also doesn't include my friends' laundry too. I had some friends stay over a few days, so I did more than just 3 loads a week. Anyway, I did all of that for 7 months. I hope he lost quite a bit of money and paid more in electricity. When I left, I contemplated if I should relay this hack to the other tenants, but I wasn't close enough to the other tenants to make sure this didn't come back to bite me. It was a good run, nevertheless.
I made a comment to my ex-husband when we signed our divorce, and his GF now accuses me of being the reason he didn't propose to her on Christmas. My ex-husband and I, both late 40s, were a real love story for 17 years. He was my world, and I loved everything about him. I thought he loved me too, but about 2 years ago, for about 2 months, he was changed. The change was so palpable that I knew it in my heart that it was another woman. He stopped kissing me good morning or good night, stopped asking me on dates, and always declined when I did. Now he even sat on the other couch. He stopped saying he loved me, and he stopped texting me during the day. I didn't know what to do other than wait and see, and sure enough, after 2 months, he told me he was in love and wanted a divorce. I was heartbroken, but I couldn't do anything about it. I would never beg someone to love me no matter how much I loved them. He moved out and started the divorce. His new girlfriend, early 30s, moved in with him not long after. My ex-husband is very successful, and our divorce was finalized a couple of weeks ago. I haven't seen my ex-husband much since he moved out. I don't know what got into me. I have kept civil and prideful during the separation. I was surprised that he was with his lawyer because I thought he just signed and didn't need to be there. I signed, and then I looked at him for the first time in 2 years, and just without giving myself the time to stop and keep my dignity, I smiled and said that he now lost the last woman who he would know for sure ever loved and saw him for him and not for his money or assets. He was too smiling at first, probably relieved that I finally was fine enough to look at him again. He complained to our son that I never looked at him anymore. His smile faltered and turned into a shock. Then he started crying. I was terrified of what I did and just left almost running. I got a text from his GF this morning with many insults about me, my character, and my looks and age, because he was supposed to have proposed on Christmas with all family present, but he didn't. He now refuses to talk about it with her or any of her family, and she means that it was my fault. I ruined their relationship. I blocked her, but I can't help but wonder if I really did ruin their relationship. I even wonder if I care. All I know is that he looked so old and pathetic. I wonder if I ever really knew him or loved him.
Am I wrong for getting my sister-in-law arrested on her wedding day? I, 24 female, and my husband, 24 male, have 3 dogs, 2 corgis and a Pomeranian. I rescued them from a puppy mill that was shut down about 6 months ago. They were all in horrible condition and had numerous medical issues. They are very friendly dogs and have adjusted to their new lives extremely well. My now sister-in-law, Amy, has met them a few times before the events occurred. Amy said she wanted them to be her ring bearer and flower girls for her wedding. Amy and I don't get along at all. She has said numerous hurtful and cruel things about me to my family and really anybody who will listen. I am not even invited to the wedding as I would ruin the vibe. What? How are you not invited to your own sister-in-law's wedding, but she wants your dogs? I told her she would not be using my dogs for her wedding for multiple reasons, including me not being invited, and they were all having surgery a few days prior. They were all getting spayed as well as dental work. She wasn't happy about being told no. Now, at the event that happened a couple of weeks ago, all of my dogs had their surgeries on a Thursday. The wedding was on a Sunday in the evening. My husband and I left the house to go run some errands Sunday morning, and the dogs were home asleep. I got a notification on my phone about motion at my back door. I check it, and it is Amy opening the door and walking into the house. Oh my God, please tell me she don't steal your dogs. Oh my God. I started panicking and telling my husband we need to leave now and go back to the house. I show him the video and he agrees. I start calling my brother and demanding for him to get his wife out of my house, and if she leaves with my dogs, I will call the police. He hung up on me. I got home and all of my dogs are gone and their cones were left in their crates. I called the police for theft and breaking and entering. The police arrived and I showed them the video of her getting into our house and leaving with the dogs. I told them where her venue was as I had seen a copy of the invitation. The police made it to the venue and were able to locate all of my dogs. One had opened her stitches and was bleeding from the wound. My husband rushed her to the emergency vet to get the stitches closed. Amy was arrested in the middle of getting ready for her wedding and has been charged with a Class 1 felony and a few misdemeanors. Now everybody is saying I ruined the wedding and I overreacted to the entire situation. I'm also being told that I need to pay them back for the wedding since it never happened. I'm refusing to pay anybody back as well as drop the charges.
Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress after she ruined mine? Hey Reddit, longtime lurker, first time poster. This situation has been eating me up, and I'd really appreciate some outsider perspectives. So my 28 female, sister, 26 female, and I have had our ups and downs, as most siblings do. However, we've been really close the past few years, and I was so excited to have her as my maid of honor for my wedding last year. Flashback to my wedding day. I had this beautiful dress that I spent a fortune on. After the ceremony and during the reception, I noticed some red wine had been spilled on the bottom of my dress. I was devastated. I later found out from a bridesmaid that my sister had accidentally knocked over her wine glass when she was trying to take a funny photo. She didn't come forward about it and didn't even apologize when I confronted her. Fast forward to now. My sister is getting married and she's fallen in love with a dress that's way out of her budget. She asked if I'd help her pay for half of it as her wedding gift. I flat out refused. I brought up how she ruined my dress and didn't take responsibility, and I feel like I shouldn't have to contribute towards hers. Now my family is divided. Half of them think I'm being petty and that I should let go of past grudges. The other half think I'm justified. So, am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress after she ruined mine?
Am I the asshole for breaking up with my girlfriend because she changed her looks to resemble my dead wife? I, 35 male, was married to Laura for 7 years. We have a son who is now 10. She was the light of my life. When we were both 28, we found out she had a rare form of cancer, and she passed away 5 months later.
Laura!
This crushed me, and I was left drowning in my grief for a long time afterwards. My son and I have been attending therapy weekly ever since. It's been tough, but I feel like we've made a lot of progress. I didn't feel up for another relationship for a while. I filled my time with hobbies, friends, and spending time with my son and family. Then, a little over a year ago, I met Kayla, 33 female, at a work event. We share a hobby that's pretty niche where I live, so we had a great time chatting about it. Eventually, we began to go out together. She's great, but differing from my wife. I love her for who she is as an individual. I was hesitant at first, but after speaking with my therapist, I decided to try for a committed relationship if we took it slow. At first, she was amazing. I told her about my past and that my son comes first, even before our first official date. She was very compassionate and understanding about everything. After a few months of smooth sailing, I decided to introduce her to my son, and they got along great as well. For the first time after Laura's death, I could start to see a possible future with someone else. Everything started to go downhill around 4 months ago. She seemed to be a bit more distant than usual, so I sat down with her one night to ask her what was wrong. She teared up and confessed that she felt that I had been neglecting her lately. She said that she feels like I'm using her as some replacement for my dead wife. This came as a total shock. A part of me will always love Laura, but I didn't feel like I was ignoring Kayla or anything. I asked for some specific examples, but she didn't say much afterwards. I felt guilty that I had made her so upset, so I ended up apologizing, and I arranged for us to have a few more date nights, and she seemed happy again. Then a couple of weeks later, she had to go to a cousin's wedding. I couldn't attend because of work, but she was only gone for a day. When she got back, I asked for some pictures, but she just said there hadn't been any of her. I thought it was a bit strange, but didn't pry. The next day, a coworker of mine showed me a private page on Facebook. I was shocked to see an expensive pair of my wife's earrings on Kayla. In my son's room, there's a small cupboard with pictures of him and his mom, letters from her, and some of her prized jewelry. I checked it as soon as I came home, and the earrings were returned to the cupboard, but in a different spot. I confronted her and she got mad, yelling at me for assuming she'd be careless to lose or damage the earrings. I told her I was just hurt that she'd go behind my back and take something with sentimental value, even if they were beautiful. She eventually broke down and apologized, and after a serious talk about boundaries, we moved on. Things improved for a while before her strange behavior started. It began with her changing her hair color to match my wife's. My wife has naturally light blonde hair that a lot of women dye their hair to today, so while I thought it was strange, I wrote it off as a beauty choice. Then she began regularly straightening her hair. She has wavy hair, and my wife's hair was pin straight. She also started to change her clothes to be more like my wife's, or at least the one seen in the pictures. She also had her ears double pierced and got a cartilage piercing like my wife. This was all incredibly unnerving, but she just said that I was crazy, and I asked my family, and they said that I was nuts too, so I ignored it.
The family too? He's being gaslit all angles, 360 degrees. Oh my
Bro can't catch a break.
Then she brought up having my son call her mama. I said I wasn't a huge fan of this, but if my son wanted to, I'd suppose it'd be fine. She went on a whole rant about how it would be different because he called my wife mommy, so it's not like she's stealing a title. He said no, and she was a bit cold to both of us for a few days. She seemed like she was a totally different woman than the one I fell in love with. Everyone around me just said that I was probably nervous since it was my first relationship after Laura's death. The final straw was when she got a tattoo that was almost the exact same as my wife's. It was in the same spot, same color, and just with a slightly different design. That was the final straw. I sat her down and confronted her about a week ago with everything. At first, she denied it, but then she broke down in tears and said that I never loved her. She said that she felt she had to live up to a memory of a ghost. This upset me because I had asked her before what I did specifically and she wouldn't discuss it. Plus, she was the one being weird and copying Laura. She kept sobbing and saying that I didn't love her. I got so sick of it that I yelled at her saying, if she feels so unloved, we should just break up. I honestly do like her, but I've seen how miserable she's been lately, and I don't think this relationship is good for her mental health. She just got dead silent and just left and drove away. Later that night, she tried to commit suicide with pills and barely survived. She has no living family, so I was listed as her emergency contact. She wrote a long letter to me saying that she loves me so much, but obviously I don't feel the same, and that maybe if she was dead too, I'd love her even a fraction of how much I love my dead wife. I'm distraught over this. She's been strange lately, but before all of this, I really did love her. My mom and siblings keep saying that I'm awful for pushing her away to this point, that instead of ending it, I should double down in reassuring my love for her. They've all got along with her and have been hinting that they wanted us to get married so my son would have a mother again and possibly some siblings. I didn't think I was the asshole, but my whole family's being cold to me and I have no idea what to do. They're saying I should visit as soon as possible and support her with this to rekindle our relationship. I'm not sure if I want to do that. She's so unhappy with me and seems obsessed over my dead wife. I keep on thinking over this and wondering if I should have reassured her of my love again or broken up with her in a more tactful way. Am I the asshole?